So the budget just came out, and to be honest with you, I'm feeling decisively unpatriotic, despite the fact I've got my mug here. And I just want to run through with you some really important updates that I think as a business owner and entrepreneur in the UK, you really need to be aware of. And to be honest with you, I'm angry. I'm really angry, right? And so this is not a unique trend. This is just the way it's going, gang. So let's just two updates that are really un-entrepreneur, and it's going to mean that there's a brain drain of talent who run businesses, small businesses like yours, like mine, that just don't see this as home anymore. So let's just go through two parts of this announcement that's really going to affect us, right? So first of all, this NI, right? National Employers National Insurance, i.e. what the company pays to employ people, has gone up to 15%. That means they want 15% of your entire payroll into their coffers. So if you're employing anybody, you've got to take that basic salary or salary plus any bonuses and all the rest of it that you want to pay your team, and you've got to take 15% of that and pay that to the government. That's a big chunk. It's a serious thing to think about, right? And the threshold, which is even more annoying for small businesses, has gone down from being £9,100 that you could pay without triggering any of this stuff to now £5,000. So when you think about the tax-free allowance, which they make you think is a really nice thing, it's tax-free allowance for £12,500. Actually, as a business owner, you can't really do that because it's your business. You own the business. So as soon as you give yourself a £12,500 salary, because thinking it's tax-free, you're going to trigger everything past that £5,000 to start paying 15% on. So it's not tax-free, is it? You're just taxing me another way. You're just getting at me another way. And it's because you're not a working person that you've got to go pay these taxes, right? So frustrating. So just come down. Even the 9,100 was a complete con, because obviously that still mean that you had to pay NI on that last bit, right? It's just so frustrating, right? So that's a huge piece. And we're going to go into that a little bit more. It's very anti-employing people, isn't it? And the small business in markets in the UK are the biggest employer in the UK as small business owners. We employ more people than any of the large companies, and yet you're penalising us. The next part is around capital gains. So you work bloody hard in this business, you're growing this business, you're grafting this, and at the end of it you hope that there's going to be a big payday where you're going to get a nice big chunky bit of cash for all of your hard work and endeavours, blood, sweat and tears over the years. And so you're hoping for that, and they've just increased that basic amount from 10% to 18%. This is also for people selling property and all the rest of it. You're going to get stung on that. They also increased the second property amount as well, but we won't go into that here. But you've gone up to 18% now for the lower rate, and 24%. They want a quarter of your hard-earned blood, sweat and tears. But they're saying, oh, don't worry, we're not losing the 1 million business asset disposal relief, which means that you basically can pay 10% on the first million that you make. It's very kind of them, but come April 25, don't worry, we're going to increase that one as well. You can bet your bottom dollar that's going to go up to 18% at least and follow these ones. And they're talking about making this even further to track your income. So it could even go up as far as 40% for higher rates, etc., right? But for now, basically a quarter of your big payday at the end is going to end up going to the government, unless you can try and sell your business for £1 million or more. Well, for £1 million basically, no more than that, because then it will trigger the higher amount before April, right? So all of this time and energy that you're putting in to grow this business in the country, they're going to then go and take their whack at the end of it as well. So I get a lot of people who come to me and ask me this, and I know there's a lot of numbers on this, but I'm going to tell you about it. They say, how much do you want to earn? And they say 10 grand a month. That'd be brilliant. That'd be amazing. You know, I see a lot of people coming out of corporate saying, oh, it'd be great to replace my corporate salary. You know, just 10 grand a month would be fantastic. Well, let me just tell you what 10 grand a month as a small business owner actually does, right? So to try and pay yourself 10 grand a month, you've got to go through all of these loopholes and tax things to actually be able to do that. And the most efficient pay, because I'm not even going to bother saying about how you just pay yourself a salary and do it that way, because that's going to be even more expensive than this. But if you try and do it in this way, right? Everybody's like, oh, well, you pay less tax and you pay dividends. But everybody's forgetting that you pay corporation tax before you could pay yourself dividends. And so you're getting stung as a small business owner with all this corporation tax, right? So you pay yourself your basic salary, right? 12.5 grand, right? That's tax-free in terms of employees' income tax. It's also tax-free in terms of your national insurance that you would pay for your 12.5 grand salary. That's very kind of them. But now it's only 5 grand for our NI threshold. Well, we're going to now have to pay 7,000, 15% on that 7,000 proportion, right? So now we're going to have to pay 1,135 pounds of tax on that 12 grand, right? So actually, we're now taking that piece down. But remember, we want to pay ourselves 10 grand a month, right? So that's only a small proportion of it, right? But we're paying tax now on that. Now we then think about the dividend proportion, right? So let's take 120,000. We've just taken out the tax-free allowance of 12. So now we've got 107 because it would have been 120 a year, 10,000 times 12 months, right? So the first £1,000, they're so generous with this, is tax-free. Hey, you get £1,000 worth of dividends for tax-free. Thank you so much, right? What about actually paying for stuff, right? Thank you. Maybe we need to do that, right? So then the next piece, you get this great rate. And this is the thing. This is why every entrepreneur is kept poor by the government. The government keeps us poor because they tell us that we have to get up to 36,700. That's the amount that we're allowed to pay ourselves to just pay the 8% dividend tax. And everybody's like, but you only pay 8% tax. No, we had to pay the bloody corporation tax first before we then paid that 8%. Thank you very much. But yes, it is a good rate. But it does mean that they put a line in the sand and say, you can't go past that rate. And all right, fine. That could be a good salary in certain places. And if you've got other incomes coming into the household, that's great. But if you are the only person earning money in your business or in your family, in your household, and you've got a couple of kids and you live in the southeast of England or whatever it is, you live in London, that's not even touching the sides in terms of actually being able to put the outcome, right? So it's really important to know that. And you're in business, if you're striving to be in business, you're the sort of person who wants to make 10 grand a month, you're striving, then you want to get way past that. That's not going to be enough to keep you doing all the long hours, the stress, the pain of running a small business. So we got to go past that. So fine, we're going to be paying just 8% on that 36,000. So that means there's 3 grand there to add into the already new NI amount that we've got to pay as a business owner. So then we've got to make that remaining amount, that 69,000, is going to be taxed at the 33% rate, right? Which admittedly is less than the 40% if you were an employee, but you're also, remember, you've got to pay the corporation tax. So everybody forgets that 25% extra that you had to do on the whole amount before it even happens, right? Everybody forgets that. So now that means that's an extra 23 grand that we're adding to the 3 grand that's adding to the 1,000 odd pounds at the start. So the total dividend tax is 26k, right? So we're going to add that in, and now we've got to think about this corporation tax because the company's got to earn enough money to pay that, right? So your salary is that, the employer's NI is this, the dividends is 1,000, so you've got to have 121,000 to be able to do that. So to work this out, this formula here, means that the business has got to actually make £161,000 in profit to be able to achieve that £120,000 payment to you. So you've got to make 161,000 quid in the business profit to be able to do that, and you've got to pay all the tax on all that, right? It's all going to be written off. So to summarise, the total profit's going to be required is 161,000. The total tax you're going to pay is nearly £70,000. 70 grand just to then take out not your 10 grand a month, but 93,000, which I know is nothing. That is a good amount of money. I understand that. But you had to sweat and bloody make your business make £161,000 profit to be able to just achieve that. It's ludicrous, it's not rewarding, and you think, why would we bother, right? My business employs a load of people out in Nigeria and South Africa, okay? So my stuff is getting done there. I've got teams that have been dotted all over the place, Morocco through to the continent, and the only person in the UK is me. I'm the only person here. All of my stuff is getting done not here. So what is the incentive to keep me here, to keep the business paying tax here? There's no incentive. And then at the end of it, they want 25% of my capital gains to go and pay them. So not only do they want all that money, they want my 68 grand a year, but they also want 25% of my sale of my business at the end of the rainbow. The American or the UK dream. They want that, right? So why? Why don't I just go and think about going to Dubai? I'd only need to get 123,000 because I'm only going to pay corporation tax of 3,400, and that's just because corporation tax kicks in once you get over, I think it's like 60,000 or whatever in Dubai. The rest of it's completely tax-free. So I just go to Dubai and pay no tax, and I get the whole whack myself, and I have to make less profit. And at the end, when I go and sell my business, there's 0% corporation tax. So if I want to sell my business for £1 million, I would get £1 million. In the UK, I'd get 75 grand or 76 grand back. Sorry, 76,000, 100,000 back, right? So 760,000 back. I know it's big numbers, but the point being, that's my whole career that has taken to that payday, and that's the reward from taking the risk to do it. So I don't want to pay corporation tax. I want it. What if I go to Cyprus, closer to home? I'd only be paying 12.5% corporation tax, so 17 grand, and no dividend and no income tax. So just the business is paying that. I'm not paying anything personally. And then capital gains tax is nothing, right? No capital gains. So why would I stay in the UK? Why? It's a global market now. And all that happens in the UK, you're just driving people like me to go, do you know what? I can still take this mug with me. I can still be British. I can still enjoy my life. But I can just go somewhere that's hotter, nicer, and more business focused. So that is my synopsis of how I feel in terms of this anti-entrepreneur budget. That's not even touching the sides. But I hope that helps, guys.